Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammad bin al-Kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa ba'd. It's an honor to speak in front of you today. The first lecture that I gave at this masjid was approximately 10 years ago. In fact, it was a different location as well. So the topic which we will be discussing today is the importance and the need to establish maktabs, basic classes for a Muslim youth. So we use this term maktab. In other languages, sometimes in other cultures, they refer to it as Khutbah. There are different terms that are used. But again, the objective is the same in all. And we will discuss the need for such institutions throughout Islamic history. And specifically in the North American context, and specifically in the context of Redmond, Washington, inshallah. The challenge which we face right now as Muslims in America. So I am born and raised in this country. I'll be turning 43, inshallah, in 1 month. So I have gone through the educational system in this country, and my parents always say this to me, I'll say it to you. My hair has not turned white for this a reason. My hair has not turned white without a reason. Right? Over 43 years, you experience things, you observe things. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I finished my studies about 15 years ago. It's been about 15 years since I finished my studies and came back to America. And I can say this speaking in front of you today. Our greatest struggle, our greatest challenge, and I'll use the term here as well, one of our greatest jihads. Jihad here we mean striving, struggle, challenge. One of our greatest jihads and struggles right now, as Muslims living in America, is the need to educate the next generation. And to ensure that they have learned the basics of Islam. Unfortunately, due to COVID, everything has been thrown out of whack. With COVID, whatever education was taking place, whatever classes for the youth and for our next generation, whatever classes were taking place, all went on Zoom. And we're no longer in person, and attendance dropped. Of course, Zoom is not the same. Anyone can tell you, if you have a choice of attending a lecture in person, where you can see the people in front of you versus Zoom, it's a world of difference. So my friends, something else which I've observed. Alhamdulillah, I've traveled throughout the United States of America. I can estimate, based on observing the Muslim community, about 50% of Muslim youth, boys and girls, in this country, here we'd be referring to second generation, 50% of the Muslim youth in this country cannot even read the Quran in Arabic. 50%, respected friends. Yes, there are many people who don't come to masjid. I heard stories where the parent says to the child, read Surah Waqiyah after Maghrib in English. إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةُ, when the event occurs. They don't know how to read in Arabic. Respected friends, unfortunately, many of us, and this might be a cultural thing, many Muslims assume that once my child has learned the Qaeda, has learned how to read the Quran, and once my child completes reading the Quran from beginning to end, what we refer to as a Khutbah, we will generally do a nice ceremony, a nice elaborate ceremony, and as parents we feel now we're done. We can step back. We've done our job. That's it. That's the be-all, end-all. Our child has completed the Quran, whether she's a girl, whether he's a boy, and we feel we're done. Friends, this is one of the greatest misconceptions in the Muslim community that we have. That my child knows how to read the Quran, that's such a great accomplishment, I am absolutely done. But friends, that's only the beginning. Really, that is only the beginning. MashaAllah. So my objective here, please, just to clarify, to make sure everyone understands, learning how to read the Quran is also very important. It's also objective. Every single Muslim boy and girl should learn how to read the Quran in Arabic. But my point is, that's only the beginning. And along with that, what we refer to as the Fard Ayn, the absolute essentials. Every Muslim child should, boy or girl, should know who Rasulullah ﷺ is. Know about his life. Know about his seerah. They should know who he is. They should learn about his miracles. They should learn about his character. They should learn about his interaction with others. They should know about his mercy. So this is an important element of children growing up in this country. And the Islamic education. Learning about seerah. Likewise, friends, I will share a real story with you. A real story with you. About 10 years ago, there was a gathering of Muslims in Stockton, California. I live in California. I'm originally from California. There was a gathering of Muslims there. And one of the youth called me and said, "Sheikh, you need to come right now." I said, "Okay." So they came. They brought me to the outside of the building, and they said, "Look, see this man, see this young person standing in front of me. Maybe the individual was maybe 17, 18 years old, from a Muslim country, from a Muslim family. I won't mention which culture he is, so no one takes it personal. But from a Muslim country, born in the United States of America, from a Muslim family as well. They called me over and said, "Sheikh, talk to him. He doesn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." My respected friends, unfortunately, we are seeing a trend. They are the ex-Muslims of America. They have a website, they have groups, right? And they write books, and they get a very popular, they get a very good response in popular media. Write a book against Islam, and it'll become a bestseller, and you'll get a good deal of interest. Anyways, this youngster, respected friends, I'm talking to him, 18 or 19 years old. And normally, if you put me on a podium, if you ask me to talk, I can talk for hours. Right? This is just the nature of Islam. I now have 4 or 5 minutes to convince this young Muslim child or young Muslim boy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. Friends, I'm thinking to myself, his parents should have done this for 18 years. This process should have been taking place from the time the child is born. The first thing the child should say when the child starts speaking, Allah. Allah is one. And now, I have to play catch up. I have to do control. I have to do damage control. In a few minutes, I have to try to convince this Muslim youth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. Which is not an easy task. Respected friends, this is what we're facing. Right? Along with reading the Quran, there should be classes where we learn about Allah. There should be classes for our youth where they learn the basics of Islam. They learn what Aqidah is. They learn our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tawheed. Every single Muslim youth should be able to explain why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. Every single Muslim boy, every single Muslim girl should be able to give a thorough answer why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. Of course, there are many stories, there's many examples we can give, but this is absolutely essential. This is part of our religion. We can't live without it. This is our lifeblood. Every Muslim child should understand what tawheed is and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. They should be able to explain and prove to anyone why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, why He's real. And there are many stories we can give as well. And there are many incidents and many lines of reasoning. Right now, I won't go into detail, but right, there's many stories, such as the story of Imam Hanifa the atheist, and so on. I won't mention those stories right now, due to limited time. So as I was saying, the absolute essentials of Islam, we need to ensure that every Muslim boy and girl learns the absolute essentials of Islam, learns Sirat, the life of the Prophet, learns how to read the Quran in Arabic, learns the message of the Quran, learns du'as, learns how to read salat, how to read namaz, and so on. Friends, this is absolutely essential. And this is the biggest challenge we are seeing in this country right now. It's a battle for the next generation. It's a struggle for the next generation. And to understand the importance of this system, what we refer to as Maktab, or what we refer to as teaching all our Muslim youth and girls and boys the basics of Islam. Respected friends, realize this is the foundation of our communities. This is the feeder system for our communities. And to illustrate that point to you, I can tell you, respected friends, I'm going to be honest with you. Growing up in this country, I personally did not go to Jumuah and perform salat for 3 to 4 years. I'm being real with you. In California, we call it real talk. I had no interest in Islam. I was busy with other things. I had a grandfather, rahimahullah, who would bring us in for Quran classes, tafsir classes. I had no interest in Islam, respected friends. I'm sitting in front of you as an imam today. We're talking about 24 years ago. I had no interest in Islam whatsoever. No interest at all. Would not go for Jumu'ah, would not read my salah. I was that Muslim youth, respected friends. That youth that many of us are dealing with right now. I was that youth. My grandfather would call us every week. I would play around. Cell phones didn't exist then, so that wasn't a way. I would play around. I would be doing things. Every week he would call us. Respected friends, I can remember my Maktab teacher, the person who taught us how to read the Quran. Very interesting story. How many of you have heard of the famous Loma Linda earthquake in 1989 in California? If you remember, the Bay Bridge clamped down and thousands of people died. The Bay Bridge connecting Oakland and San Francisco fell down. There was a major earthquake in San Francisco. And you can look it up. It's called the Loma Linda earthquake. Also, it was the year of the Bay Bridge series, right? The Oakland A's versus the San Francisco Giants in the playoffs. Right? This happened during the game. Friends, I was in the masjid at that time. I can share the story with you. 1989, I was 11 years old. After school, we had our Quranic classes. I still remember our teacher. Right? He had a red beard, and he was an old man. When the earthquake took place, right, we lived about 13 miles from the center of the earthquake. Right? From Mill Valley to San Francisco is about 10 miles. 10 miles, 13 miles from the center of the earthquake. We were in Salat when the earthquake happened. The earthquake was so powerful that our Maktab teacher, our Quran teacher, in Salat, he fell down in Salat. 13 miles away from the center of the earthquake, he fell down in Salat. We were in Asr Salat after school when this earthquake took place. I'm sharing with you our memories growing up, our memories in our Quran classes, and the impact it had on us later. The impact it had on us, how many years later? Without those basic and fundamental Quran classes, when I was young, I would not be standing in front of you today as an imam, as a scholar. These classes are the foundation of our community. They are absolutely required and essential. Every Muslim youth needs this education. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. It is a priority. It is more important than playing sports. It is more important than extracurricular activities. It is more important than extra tutoring. This is our future. This is our hereafter. Islamic studies for our children are absolutely required. And as a community, we need to give importance to this. Think about it. Extracurricular activities, soccer moms, our youth, we drive them after school, we take them to these extra programs, we take them to tutoring classes, we take them to sports, we take them to football, we take them to various activities. How important and how much of a priority are we giving to these Quran classes? But friends, I'll share another interesting story with you. Shall I have a few more? So I just came from last week from Toronto. I'm vaccinated, I've had my COVID test, don't worry, inshallah. This last weekend, I was in Toronto, Ontario, Toronto, and Canada. And I'll first share one story with you. We had gone there in Tabligh in the year 2012 or so. Now, this is the importance of Maktab. This is, the importance will come from us as parents and will come from the children. That year, right, many of you probably don't follow it, it's called the NHL, the National Hockey League. Right? It's not as popular here in the West Coast. In Canada and in the Northeast, hockey is life. You learn to ice skate before you learn to walk. Game 7 of the NHL Finals between the Detroit Red Wings and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Game 7, the biggest game of the year. There was a youngster in that Maktab that had tickets to the game. He had tickets to the game, Game 7. We're not talking, it would be equivalent to having tickets to the Super Bowl. It would be equivalent to having tickets to Game 7 of the NBA Finals. The child had tickets to the game. But the child did not go to the game and chose to go to Maktab and learn the Quran instead. But friends, this is a real story. I know the boy, I know the teacher, I met the teacher. The teacher personally told me this story. So that importance, giving priority to Quranic classes, giving priority to Maktab classes. I'm not feeling good, I'm not going to go to Maktab. Parents are busy, we don't want to take them, we don't want to go to Maktab. We're looking for a babysitter, we'll drop them off at Maktab. When we feel like it, we need some free time, let's just drop off the kid for Quranic classes. We need to realize the value of these classes. We need to give priority to these classes. And as a community, we have to put ourselves behind these classes. Inshallah, I'll share a few more stories. Inshallah, then I'll end. So as I mentioned in Toronto, friends, the best Islamic environment in North America or South America is Toronto. Now keep in mind, they have a strong Maktab system. And every single masjid, there are hundreds of girls and boys, Muslim girls and boys, who attend the classes. It is the best Islamic environment in all of North America and South America. Please go yourselves, visit the system. Right? I just came back and I gave a number of lectures there. Think about this, respected friends. Every single masjid in Toronto has a Quran memorization class. It's a feeder system. Right? When kids are learning the Quran, when there's solid Quranic education, and the children are learning the basics of Islam, then all the hundreds of children will want to do more. So as a result, you literally have thousands, if not tens of thousands, of children, boys and girls, who have memorized the Quran in Toronto. Thousands. And the schools are everywhere. In fact, in one masjid, there might be 3 or 4 different classes taking place. One masjid, there might be 3 to 4 different classes taking place to memorize the Quran. So, respected friends, understand this feeder system concept. When the Maktab is there, then there's going to be interest in our Muslim youth to do more for Islam. They'll want to learn more. And many of them, once they can read the Quran fluently, they'll want to memorize the Quran. And from there, respected friends, this is the mind-blowing part. Who can give me an estimation here? In the entire state of Washington, how many qualified alims or ulama are there? Right? This is just an open-ended question. Right? I won't. Well, there's no right or wrong answer, otherwise I'll give a reward. Who can give me an estimate? How many sheikhs, imams, muftis, alims are there in the entire state of Washington? 20? 25? Probably a high estimate. Let's go with 25. How many total Muslims are there in the state of Washington? Any estimates? 50,000, 100,000? So we're talking about 25 scholars for about 20,000 Muslims. Now, this is a rough figure, guys. You don't have to quote me on this. Roughly 25 scholars for maybe 30,000 Muslims. Every year in Toronto, 80 to 100 qualified scholars and alims graduate, including female scholars. 80 to 100 ulama, scholars, sheikhs, imams, men and female, graduate every year in Toronto. Put that in perspective. 3 times the number of scholars found in the entire state of Washington from one city. What's the secret behind it? What's the secret? It's that maktab system. It's that foundational knowledge. It's learning the absolute essentials of Islam. Okay, 2 more stories and then I'll end. Okay. One of the most touching things I've seen in my life. I lived in South Africa for 7 years, where your Imam Fazal is also from. I lived there for 7 years. Every week we would go to the poor areas known as the informal settlements or the slaughter camps. We would go there and we'd visit these areas. There would be weekly classes for these young local African boys and girls. There was 25 children studying there. They're wearing thobes, they're wearing topis, mashallah, they're wearing white clothes. I asked them, how many of your parents are Muslim? From 25, maybe 8 of their parents were Muslim. The rest were non-Muslims, sending their children to go up and learn and grow up as Muslims. But friends, the Imam, I went with the Imam to go to a family's house. What was the objective? To convince, or let's word it differently, to demand that child comes for weekly Islamic classes. The parent is non-Muslim, the parent doesn't practice Islam. We are going to ask the parent to send their child to Islamic classes once a week. And I watched that, I was blown away. The Imam didn't ask or didn't request. He said, when is your child coming for Islamic classes? The parent said, yes, we'll make some arrangement, this and that. This was a desire, this was the respect these people have for Islam. And we would go and ask the parents, please send your children for Islamic classes. We would go and ask them. Another thing which I've seen as well, one more story. Another thing which I've seen with my own eyes, Venezuela, San Felix, Venezuela. Every day for Islamic classes, the masjid made arrangements to pick up the children who can't afford to come to the masjid. In the morning, there's a full-time driver. His job is to go throughout San Felix, collect the children, and bring them for Quran classes. And in the afternoon, he goes back and he does the same thing. I traveled in the car with him to pick up those children. We went in the middle of nowhere. We're going all over, finding the Muslim youth, bringing them to the masjid for Islamic classes. So respected friends, these are some stories to illustrate and highlight to us the importance of this maktab system. The importance of having our children go to this system. And not only go, making it a priority. This is what my children need. This is part of my duty as a parent, as a mother or father. This is my responsibility and my duty and obligation to ensure that my children go to these classes, attend regularly, support the teacher, and support the maktab system. So may Allah SWT give us the ability to put this into practice. May Allah SWT protect our next generation. And may Allah SWT protect them and save them from the evils and the tribulations which are around them. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.
Jazakumullah khairan for your